Before I get started telling my birth story, I want to let you know that Ellen and I have just created a free mini birth class, and it is up and live for you to watch. It's totally free and it's about 40 minutes, and it's packed with information that could transform the way your birth goes. The deepest desire of our hearts is for you guys to have empowered births and to love birth the way we do, and that's why we put together this information that's totally for free. So go ahead and click below to watch that. And if you stay to the end of the free mini birth class, you receive a gift from me and Ellen, so we hope you watch it and we hope you love it. Okay, here we are literally 2 years later, more than 2 years later, and I'm here to finally sit down and tell you all about the story of my second birth. And I think I forgot about, doing this because right after I gave birth, I just had a really difficult postpartum with difficult breastfeeding issues, and those were resolved after about 3 months. But anyway, here we are. We're still breastfeeding, by the way. It's getting to the point where I'm like a little over it, but also happy to give him milk as long as possible because it's so good for him. And the reason I want to take the time to sit down and tell you this story is because it was such a uplifting birth. It was, wow, I just felt so fortunate to have that experience, and I can't wait to do it again someday. Recap, my birth with my first son was truly empowering, just like, what did I just do? But it was totally painful. It hurt. It was like 26 hours, home birth, no complications. It was just long. And I felt pretty unprepared for what exactly birth was going to feel like. And there were some things I loved about my first birth, particularly like how carefully I chose my birth team, and just also the fact that I just put my head down and did it, and I felt like such a freaking rock star for doing that. It was like, whoa, one of the most empowering experiences of my life. And then with this second experience, I really wanted a pain-free labor because I had heard about such things, and my sister has had these experiences, and I just wanted, I was gearing up to have something like that, and it's exactly what I got. It was so incredible, and there are ways I want to level up next time as well, but this was such a encouraging birth. So let me just tell you the story of my second birth because it was just so good, and I would love to encourage anyone else, if they are gearing up for a physiological birth, to have hope that things can actually be pain-free. It was incredible. My water actually broke the day before, like 4 days before my due date, something like that. And it was just a trickle. It wasn't like a big gush, but it was definitely clear something is happening down there. And that typically means you're gonna have the baby within 24 hours. So it was really nice to have that warning because my husband and my toddler at the time and we all went to Whole Foods and stocked up on a bunch of groceries. And I think I made an extra freezer meal, and we went on a walk by the river as a family. I set up the camera and we took a picture, our last picture as a family of 3. It was kind of nice to know when it was happening. And then the following morning, 3 a.m., I started to feel whispers, ooh, something's moving down there, something cramping, but very, very minor. And then I definitely tried to sleep as much as I could, but you just definitely have the jitters. You're just so excited. I want to say about 6 a.m. I had some more sensations, and then one of my biggest things that I was trying to do this time was to ignore the sensations as long as possible. And this is one of my biggest tips to anyone who is about to give birth, is to ignore the sensations as long as you can. If it's at night, go back to sleep and get as much rest as you can. And if it's during the day, just go about your day. And it seems crazy because with my first birth, I did not do this. I was like, I feel sensations, got on my birthing ball, and I was like, yeah, here we go, we're doing it. And that was just so exhausting. I feel like I could have had the baby so much sooner rather than 26 hours. I really attribute a lot of the ease in the second birth to that one piece of advice, is to ignore the sensations until you absolutely can't anymore. So we were just going about our day, we're going on walks, and then we you know, our toddler went down for a nap, and so I was like, hey, do you want to watch Gilmore Girls? And Eric was like, I'm so confused. Are you in labor or are you not in labor? I'm like, yes, I'm in labor. Let's watch Gilmore Girls. It's our last day without a newborn. Like, let's do something. And it was like cooking. And then when I started realizing like, okay, this is not false labor. Like, obviously I knew since the amniotic fluid had started leaking the day before, like this was real. And I had definitely alerted my birth team, which is my amazing midwife whom I adore, as well as my birth photographer, because I really wanted to capture the birth. And I was just updating them throughout the day, and I just kept being like, I think that I'm, you know, it's getting closer, but I'll be honest, like I don't really feel much, like I'm not really in much pain. And I had done the Miles circuit at one point, which I'm sure you've heard about if you're interested in physiological birth. The Miles circuit is essentially like 4 different positions to kind of kick things into high gear. And you know, I definitely didn't need to do the Miles circuit, but there was this like back of the mind pressure to have the baby that day. My first baby was born on my sister's firstborn's birthday, and on this day was her secondborn's birthday, meaning same birthday for the first 2 kids, which is crazy. And so I was like, let's just do this. Let's like kick this into high gear. And then I was like taking walks, and I would like do squats, and every time I felt a sensation, I would kind of like lean into the sensation and embrace and feel it even more. And I literally did not feel pain. And the whole time I was like, wow, I'm doing this. This is happening, because that wasn't my experience last time. So there's almost like this like encouragement, like, Hannah, you got this, like just keep going, like this is amazing. And sort of like looking at myself from the outside, like she is doing this pain-free birth thing, yes. And one of my big goals for this birth was I didn't want to get in the tub until I really felt I needed to, and until like the end. And my midwife showed up. I don't even remember if she checked me, and I don't remember what it was. So that wasn't like a big part of the story, but she showed up, and it's always like this sort of like relief when your midwife shows up, because you're like, it's real, it's today. And one funny thing that happened that day is the water heater had turned off. I think the power went out for an hour or 2, so the water heater turned off, so we didn't have a lot of warm water for the tub, so we had to like heat some water on the stove, which is kind of funny. Got in the tub, and it was starting to get dark at this point. This was spring, so you know, it was probably dark by 9 p.m., something like that. And one of the most beautiful, significant things about this birth was that it was this beautiful, perfect spring sunny day, and then like right when I got in the tub is when the guttural sound started, and when it was like, okay, baby is coming, baby is imminent. And the whole weather shifted to this lightning storm, and it was so beautiful. And I wasn't aware of it, but other people were like, Hannah, there's lightning. Or I heard them like talk about lightning, and then they were like, Hannah, there's lightning. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, and at that point, you know, like the eyes close. I don't know if you guys experience this, but there's like a moment where like your eyes close and you don't want to look at anyone. And when you talk, you're like, kind of turn towards them and talk to them and turn towards them that way. And at this point, even though the contractions were not painful at all, they were actually like this like big beautiful thing happening to me that were getting crazy. I was a little tired because I was working hard all day. I was like squatting, I was like, let's get this baby out, we're doing the pain-free birth thing. And my legs were exhausted because I kind of the sensation that really felt like good in a big way to bring baby was a squat. So I'd be like walking, and then I felt the contraction start, and I would squat and like lean into it, you know? But my legs were exhausted. It makes me think I should do more squats now to prepare for the next birth. I thought I had been doing enough squats, but maybe I needed to do more. And even when I push, both times in the tub, I'm sort of like in a split squat position. You can't see my legs right now, so why am I showing you? But essentially like squatting with like one knee sort of up like this. And yeah, my legs were just tired. And as soon as I felt pushy, I was like starting to like rush the contractions. And this is where I went wrong. One of the biggest things I want to change for my next birth, I should have handled the pushing contractions the way I handled the contractions in the rest of my labor, but instead I was kind of over it, and I was kind of rushing through it and pushing, like not allowing, but I was like too pushy. And my amazing midwife was like, Hannah, slow down, there's no rush, baby's fine, slow down. And I was like, I'm over it. Even though like the rest of the birth was like happy, joyful, excited, and like, woo, and wonderful, I was tired. It is a lot of work to birth a freaking baby. Yeah, I just said I'm over it, and she laughed at that and like wrote it down in her notes. If you have a home birth, you know midwives like have meticulous notes with like 9:02. Hannah said she was over it. And yeah, I don't even know how long I was pushing. I want to say 20 minutes. It wasn't very long, but it wasn't very short. And this is where it gets real, guys. This is where the pain-free part ends. I felt myself tear. I felt it. Ooh, I felt it. And I was not following the advice to not tear. I was just over it. You know when you're just giving birth and you're like, stop talking to me. I am doing this. Stop telling me what to do. And so, hey, was that empowered? I think so. I got to do it the way I wanted to in the moment. And anyway, just a few more pushes. Oh, and guess I wasn't like really witnessing this, but I was told that each time I pushed, the lightning was going off in the window and everyone could see the whole room light up with this sort of like purplish light, and that was kind of cool. And is this baby kind of strong-willed and like a little bit of a lightning? He is. So then I felt the baby's head out, and I remember pausing and like, oh, because that's the hardest part, is the head, right? You're just like, oh, it's done, the baby's head is here. And then, you know, out comes the baby with like a little slither with the next push, no complications. It was such a blessing. And like, I just remember holding him and like going, oh my gosh. And I remember this is kind of my experience last time too, is like, I just like want everyone to like I just wanted to like enjoy the experience with everyone in the room. My husband, my son, my friend Kesley, y'all know Kesley, she's the one I followed here to Idaho. She was there to help me with my first son, and well, you know, just to like be there to help out a little bit. And then there was the midwife, the midwife's assistant, and the photographer. So there was like quite a few people in the room, and I just wanted to be like, did you see that? Did you see that birth? Did you see what I did? So that was my first reaction. I think that's the first thing I said. And this is another thing I really want to do for next time, is I want to savor the moment more. Because I kind of like, and I want to talk to my midwife too about like, unless there's no medical emergency, don't disturb what just happened. The kind of divine entrance of this new soul into the world. Basically, right after you give birth, especially if you have the kind of experience that I'm describing where you know, you feel really safe and secure and there wasn't a huge emergency of any kind, and everyone's like super respecting you as your divine feminine being that just freaking created life. When you have those kinds of experiences, like right after the baby comes out, you're just kind of like, you're still almost in heaven a little bit. It's like you went to heaven to bring the baby here. I don't know, it's just like it's just a very surreal experience. I want to savor the moment more. I don't want to interrupt myself, and yeah, that's the other thing I really want to do for my next baby. Okay, and then the funny part, you know how I wasn't doing the right thing when it came to pushing, and that's why I tore? My midwife is actually really cool, really chill, and very trusting, and she's been in the game since before I was born, definitely. Like, she's been doing this forever. And anyway, I was like, afterwards, you know, holding my baby, I'm on the bed, maybe I'd like just birthed the placenta, and I was like, oh no, I remember the first thing I said after birth. I said, my butthole, oh, my butthole, oh. She's like, oh, your butthole hurts? I'm like, yeah, my butthole. That was a strong sensation. But anyway, I was like, oh, I tore really bad. I did. And she's like, I don't know, you know, I normally don't stitch. I normally just kind of let things heal up. You keep your legs closed, things heal perfectly. We don't even have to stitch, probably. So let's take a look. Oh, goodness, okay, we're definitely gonna need to stitch this one. It was pretty bad tear. I don't know like what degree it is or whatever. I don't even know where it was. Isn't that terrible? I will always remember that birth as being so uplifting and fun and smiling and joyful. It was awesome. It was awesome. I love birth so much so that I actually have a birth course with my sister. You already know that probably. It's called the Empowered Pregnancy and Birth Course, and she's got 5 kids and has an incredible story about, you know, her first 2 were like painful, typical long labors, and she learned these tools, and she did mind change, which is a subconscious rewiring of neural pathways. Each birth she just learned more and more, and has shared so much wisdom, and we created this birth course together. It's about pregnancy and birth, and we are so proud of it, and we have insane testimonials from people who have given birth for their first time or people who have given birth before. And I'm so pleased to share with you today that we actually have a free mini birth class up and ready for you to watch. We've put this together as a taster for what our birth course is like. And what's really cool is if you watch the free mini birth class all the way to the end, you'll receive a free gift from us. So please check it out and let us know what you think. Send us an email, send us a DM. We would love to hear from you. So that is the story of my birth. I'll catch you in the next video, and yeah, all right, the end, guys.